What's going on, guys? Mick Wadley here, founder of gapfunded.com. One of the biggest questions I get from real estate investors is, should I use a HELOC to fund my next deal? So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what a HELOC is, the pros, the cons, when it makes sense to use one, and more importantly, when it doesn't. And then I'm going to show you what many investors do instead when they don't have the equity to pull from in the first place. So let's get into it. So before we jump in, I'm Mick Wadley. I'm the founder of gapfunded.com. We help real estate investors close deals by covering the capital that traditional lenders won't. So down payments, closing costs, rehab budgets, reserves. We've helped investors get funded without using their own cash. And we work alongside hard money lenders, mortgage brokers, and commercial lenders every single day to get deals across the finish line. So when I talk about HELOCs, I'm not talking theory, I'm talking about what I see investors using, misusing, and what they wish they had instead. So what's a HELOC? So let's start at the beginning. A HELOC, home equity line of credit, is essentially a credit card backed by the equity in your home. Here's a simple example. So you bought your house for 100 grand. It's now worth 200 grand. You've got 100,000 in equity. You go to the bank and say, hey, I want access to that equity. They say, fine, we'll give you a HELOC for 100 grand. Now, here's what makes it different from just refinancing. You don't have to pull the money out right away. You can draw from it when you need it, pay it back, draw again. It's flexible, it's liquid, and you only pay interest on what you actually pull out. The catch, and this is important, the interest rate on a HELOC is not fixed. It moves with the prime rate. So what you're paying today could be more expensive in 6 months. That matters a lot when you're putting it into a deal. So here's why investors love HELOCs and why I think they can be a smart tool when used correctly. So first, flexibility. You pull it out when you need it, you put it back when you're done. If you're flipping a house, you draw the money to fund the rehab, you sell the property, you pay it back. You're only paying interest for the time you actually need it. Compare that to a cash out refinance where that money is sitting in your account every single month, costing you interest whether you're using it or not. Secondly, it's a low upfront cost. So getting a HELOC approved usually costs a few $100. A refinance can cost you 1.5% to 2% of the loan amount. On a 200 grand loan, that's 3 to 4 grand just to access your own money. A HELOC is a fraction of that. And then thirdly, speed. Once you're approved, you've got access. You're not going through a full underwrite every time you need capital. That matters in this market when deals move fast. Now, here's the part where most people gloss over and where I see investors get into real trouble. The interest rate is not locked, ever. I've never seen a HELOC with a fixed rate for the long term, which means if you pull money out of your HELOC to fund a deal that takes longer than expected, and deals always take longer than expected, you could be sitting there 6, 12, 18 months later paying a rate that is 2 or 3% higher than when you started. That kills your cash flow and can put you upside down on a deal that looked great on paper. The other issue is if you've got a HELOC on a primary residence and you want to do a cash out refinance later, you can't do both at the same time. It's one or the other. So you need to think about which tool you actually want to use because you might be closing a door you want open later. So here's when HELOCs make sense in my opinion. Short-term deals, fix and flips. Properties you know you can refinance out of in 6 months or less. So if you've got a deal under contract, you know the ARV, the numbers work, and you have a clear exit, a HELOC is a great tool to move fast without burning your own savings. It also makes sense as a reserve fund. So getting approved for a 100K HELOC and leaving it sitting there costs you almost nothing. But having access to that capital means you never lose a deal because you couldn't move fast enough. And that's exactly why a lot of investors we work with at gapfunded.com have a HELOC sitting ready alongside our gap funding. It's a layered capital strategy. So here's where I see a lot of people get burned. Do not use a HELOC as a long-term down payment on a rental property if you have no plan to replace that capital. I see this constantly. Someone pulls 100K out of their HELOC, puts it as a down payment on a rental, and now they've got a fixed rate mortgage on a rental and a floating rate HELOC on their home. The rental is cash flowing fine until rates move, and suddenly the HELOC payments eat the cash flow alive. Now they're paying out of pocket every month on a deal that was supposed to make them money. If you don't have a short-term exit strategy for that HELOC, don't use it. Now, here's the part of the conversation that most YouTube videos don't have. A lot of investors we work with at gapfunded.com don't have a HELOC. Maybe they're just getting started. Maybe they've already leveraged everything they own. And maybe they don't own a home at all yet. So while we can help with a HELOC, this is exactly the problem we can solve. Instead of pulling equity from property you already own, we stack business credit, term loans, and gap funding to give you the same deployable capital without touching your home, without a fixed asset to put up, and without a floating interest rate keeping you up at night. So you cover down payments, closing costs, rehab budgets, reserve requirements, everything your hard money lender or mortgage broker needs you to bring to the table. We help you get that capital structured and in place so you can actually close the deal fast. And the best part, you keep 100% of the equity in the deal. No shopping around convincing private equity or looking for seller finance. We don't take a piece, we just fill the gap. So is a HELOC worth it? Yes, in the right situation. Short term, clear exit, you've got enough equity to make it worth the cost of accessing it. But if you don't have equity to pull from, or you don't want to put your home on the line, you just want a cleaner way to fund deals, that's what gapfunded.com is built for. Go to gapfunded.com, book a call, we'll look at your situation, map out a funding strategy, and show you exactly how to get the capital you need to close your next deal. I'm Mick Wadley. I'll see you in the next one.